All right, guys, it is Parker here, one of the owners of Drop Service Academy, and I am lucky enough to be joined by four current DSA students. We are together for a first in-person event here in Chicago, my home city. Very convenient for me, not as convenient for some of these guys who travel from across the country. So I want to first give them a moment here to just introduce themselves, just kind of say a little bit about where they're from, where they're operating out of, and then we're going to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of these businesses, running these businesses. Thankfully, we've got a really good mixed group of where people are at in the timeline here. Not everyone is running a super successful business that's 8, 9, 10 months old. Some people are just starting. Some people they're in the middle stages. And then some people, like myself, have been doing this for a little bit longer and are a little bit more established. So you're going to get to hear from a lot of great different vantage points. So without further ado, Jamar, go ahead and start us off here.
Thank you, Parker. Yeah, nice to be in the city and be with some, fellow good, workers who are making this cleaning business go. So I'm Damar. I'm based in New York and I operate, my business operate out of the Westchester County. So we service the entire Westchester County. Yeah.
Excellent. Steve?
My name's Steve. I operate out of Metro Detroit, Michigan. We serve the greater Metro Detroit area.
Excellent. And you are from that same area? You born and raised there?
Born and raised there. I have never moved outside of a 15-mile radius.
It's a beautiful thing. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm David. I'm the baby of the group here. I'm born and raised in Buffalo, and that is also where I operate my business, Buffalo, New York.
Excellent. Cam?
My name's Cameron, born and raised Los Angeles, California, and that's where I'm operating as well.
Excellent. So, guys, I know I already mentioned it once, but all four of you are kind of in different stages in the life cycle. I know, Cam, you're the newest to the business model. Steve, David, you guys are similar timeline that you started in, right? A little after me. And then I've been, doing the business for the longest period of time. Also get a unique perspective here as, David and Steve were not coached by me. We're kind of starting in this business model when I was not a coach or not even really involved on that front, was more of just an active community member. And then, Cam, actually have gotten to work with him more personally from the very beginning. So going to get some unique perspectives here. I actually do want to start with you, Cam. So being someone who is, started the most recently out of everybody and who's in an area that immediately I think people's attention are drawn towards the opportunity of starting this business in a big city, right? You're in LA, you're in Orange County. That's like your typical big city. You've got kind of Chicago, New York, and LA, and those are your three that come to most people's mind. Now, what has your experience been like? Has it been different than you expected? Has it been the same? And in what ways has it been, let's start with, more difficult than you expected? And then we'll kind of get into how it's been better, but starting with that.
Yeah, so right off the bat, I think it was a little different than what I expected just because this is the first type of thing that I've done, venturing out into this. And, I didn't know much about cleaning, but the difficult things I think is just trying to build the right team around yourself. That's the hardest thing that I've been trying to do, to really just stay on top of, to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Absolutely. And you would say the hardest part then is finding the people, or it's actually running and managing the team?
It's a little bit of both. I haven't hired anyone before, so that's the thing that I struggled most with at the beginning. Now I have a few people working with me that once I found them, they're great, and managing them, it has been really good, really easy to do. It's just finding those people that want to get after it and are hardworking, and then those people, once you find them, they're really easy to do it.
Yeah, I feel like I've had a similar experience. I think one of the biggest reasons that I could guess, and you could give me some of your thoughts on this, for why that's the case in your area, is probably because the cost of living is so high. And I imagine that people are looking for jobs where they're going to make enough money to afford to live. Obviously, that's the case everywhere, but my $25 to $30 an hour probably stretches a lot further in Madison, Wisconsin than it's going to in Orange County. And I imagine that is, in some ways, it's kind of, it's forcing you to have to pay more, but still be dealing with the same problems of, you're dealing with still the lowest kind of income earners, that you have those same issues. When you're dealing with people that are making low wages, you have low wage earning issues. You have the car breaking down. You have no one to watch the kids. You have unreliable. You have, those kind of common issues. And I feel like you're getting that, but then also having to pay a premium for those services. What has that been like? Has that been kind of what you've experienced?
Exactly. I've had, 1 week there was 3 different car breakdowns with cleaners. But I think my philosophy on it is I'm paying higher than the standard so that I know that my cleaners, the good ones, I'm taking care of for sure, so that they can afford that babysitter or eventually a new car or something like that. And I'm paying for anything besides a basic clean over $30 an hour, 35 sometimes. One of them got up to 40 an hour because it was a crazy job, but I want to make sure that they're taken care of, because I found that most importantly is like getting that high quality clean, because I'm charging a lot. It's higher income, but you have to make sure that you deliver that quality, because otherwise you're not going to get that recurring service.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game, obviously, in this business model. It actually, you've now kind of given me the perfect opportunity to segue over to Steve here, because you said, for you, the most important thing is going to be the fulfillment. And I say that, I've said it a million times. I think there's not really any conversation to be had about it. If you don't do good cleans, you don't own a good cleaning company. It's pretty much as simple as it gets. You're never going to get recurring. You won't build the referral base. You won't build reviews. At the end of the day, you're just going to be scrapping for every single lead from a paid platform for the rest of the time of your business. So, Steve, I know you've spent a lot of time refining the systems that go into finding this cleaner, onboarding them, setting the expectations, and then, building a relationship with them. Actually, just yesterday we were talking about how you want there to be a loyalty to you as a boss. You actually spoke about a boss you had in the past that kind of just made you forget the parts of the job that sucked because you were loyal to them, you were bought into the cause, etc. I'm curious, what has your hiring process been like? I know it wasn't straightforward. Now, do you feel like you've gotten a grasp on it? Was it something you were doing wrong, or you were just waiting for the right apple to kind of make its way to you? Give me a little bit of insight into your hiring experience.
I feel like it's no joke when they say that hiring is the hardest part of this avenue. And I felt like I had a grasp literally until this week on the whole process. And then now I'm shadow banned on Indeed, and we're scraping our usual platforms for other applicants. And so we're in a bit of an interesting situation this week, but we're still moving forward. We still have our processes. And now we're having to create more because we're put into this interesting position that we're in right now. But at the end of the day, it really is about building a brand that people feel passionate about. And the brand is not about a name or a logo, it's about the people. So if you feel comfortable and you respect the person that you're working for, I think that that's what it's all about.
100% I agree. And I think this gives me a good opportunity to say, kind of to the viewer and to people in general, there's oftentimes this false idea that running this type of business, you're somehow taking advantage of the people that are working with or for you. I think that is very much determined by the type of boss that you are, the way that you care for people, the way that you develop your relationship with them, and not really determined by the business model. At the end of the day, the only thing that the business model is going to determine is this type of work and then roughly the pay. Otherwise, it is really on you as a business owner to develop a relationship or not, to put time and care into your cleaners or not. Like that's going to be on you as the business owner. And I know you, similar to me, feel strongly about incentivizing people to do well, not just financially, but also just out of respect and loyalty and like for the company. I mean, all of those things are what's going to foster a business that is going to be successful over the long term. I've said it to you and to other people a million times, but I really believe you are going to have a multi-million-dollar cleaning business someday, just because of the steps that you have taken to grow steadily and to build a really strong foundation, even in ways that I myself have not taken the time and the care to do. So, if you could, now being someone that's been in here longer than everyone, well, not everyone else in this room, but has been doing this for longer than most, let's say, um, what has been the turning point for you in the moment where you felt like, okay, this is more than a way to make money. This is a business. Like, I am building something with tangible value. It impacts other people's lives positively. It's going to have enterprise value. It's going to be something I could pass down to my kids someday. Like, because I know that's how you view this, but I know that's not how everyone views this from the beginning or at all. And I'm curious when that turning point happened for you and what caused it.
I couldn't tell you the date. I remember the circumstances.
Okay.
So basically, what had happened is I had a few things that occurred in the same week. I got to have 3 beautifully written reviews from our clients that was not just a sentence, not just 3 or 4 or 5 sentences, but a whole paragraph. One of them was 2 or 3 paragraphs. I can't remember now, but it almost made me tear up because we made an impact on somebody's life who they were going through a lot. Each of us have gone through a situation where we've sent a cleaner and they've made an impact in somebody's life, right? But this was 3 times in the same week that I learned that tangible effect that we had on those other people. And I got to do over $4,000 in payroll in that 1 week. And then there was a couple other small factors that built up. But I realized that I'm not out here making a buck. I'm out here changing lives.
And that is like such a beautiful feeling. It's something that I also experienced as someone who's tried a bunch of different business models and really has gotten into every business that I've ever gotten into to just try to make money. And then when you have more people involved with it, you get more headache, but you really get a much higher level of gratification from that. And again, you've perfectly allowed me to segue now over to David here, who, David, I know, obviously I know all about you at this point, but for our viewers, David is, well, when he started his business, was a teenager, 19, now 20 years old, kind of transitioned somewhat, still owns both businesses, but transitioned from a product based, from fulfillment, no customer service, no employees per se, like totally different model. Still a successful business, still something that you're running, you're continuing to do. So not something that you were like, oh, this is a waste of time, but more so you wanted exposure into something different. I know how you feel about this model versus that model, but curious for the viewer, for anyone who maybe is in a product-based business currently, what was the idea behind making the switch? And then how have you felt about the switch? And then navigating now, dealing with people, dealing with customers much more closely, dealing with service providers, cleaners now on a whole different level than any employee that I'm sure you've had in the past. Like, what has that been like? And especially doing all of that as someone at 19, 20 years old, where most of the people that you're working with, customers and service providers alike, are at least a decade older than you.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is when I was doing my product-based business, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I had been doing the business for 2.5, 3 years at that point. I had sort of automated part of it to where I had extra time. I was not going to be going to school for much longer. I know I'd even open up more time. So I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. And like you said, I'd done product. I wanted to do service because it's a completely different type of business. So for me, it was all about trying something new. And it definitely was. Every aspect of the business was new to me. Of course, general business concepts and principles are the same, but customer service and talking to people and all of that is completely new to me, and what was new to me. Right now, of course, I've got a grip on it, but all of that stuff was brand new. I do love it a lot more. I like talking to people. Yes, of course, it's a little bit more stress, I think, but I think the service-based business for me has been more successful, yes, but it's also been a better experience overall. And like you said, I mean, coming from a product-based business, the type of business I was doing, no enterprise value, really capital intensive. So I felt poor all the time. I'd have a couple thousand in my account, but I'm doing 30,000 a month in sales. How does that work? you know, whereas in this business, it's completely different. You know, you can keep your cash, and that's a huge value along with the enterprise value. It's just, it's not something that I'd experienced before, and I'm more than grateful that I joined and did this.
I love that. And I heard from somebody, forgive me if it was you. I don't think that it was you, but somebody who had made a transition from a product based, you know, where they actually had to buy inventory, slimmer margins, high reinvestment rate. And they told me, they were like, when I started to get into the world of drop servicing and using this model, and I could make money from nothing. They were like, that's how it felt. Like all I really did was just answer the phone. I didn't actually go and do a service. I didn't have to buy a product or do any fulfillment. You know, I didn't have to go ship something. I really just had to orchestrate two people coming together and them handling their own respective end of it. And then I was able to make money on that. And not 5% or 1% or 10%, but 40, 50%. And that was like they said, a huge turning point for them. In that moment, they were like, yeah, I'm never going back to product ever again. Why would I ever go spend $5,000, $10,000 buying inventory just to try to make $500 to $1,000? And as someone who never was in product, I don't really have the expertise or even the vantage point to speak on it, but I do know that as somebody who has done service and then, you know, kind of done freelance, kind of done drop servicing, like all those different iterations of this same idea, this has been one that I have felt has allowed me way more leverage. Now I know you are at a point in your business, you know, you started your business how long ago now?
About 9 months, really similar to you.
Okay, so about 9 months, you've got VA plugged in, you've got a solid staff of cleaners, you've got a large book of business. You know, what has that looked like from the standpoint of getting yourself actually out of the business? Like, I know you're almost fully out of your Amazon business at this point. You're almost fully out of your drop servicing business at this point. What does that feel like to be 20 years old, bringing in, you know, $10,000 a month across all your businesses in profit, take home pay? So, right, you're making as much as a doctor, as a lawyer, as an engineer, as a 20-year-old, without having to actually do a lot of the work that's making you money. What has that experience been like, and how has that shaped, you know, your thoughts about your future and what you're going to do going forward?
It's really weird. It's so hard to describe the way it feels because it's still relatively new to me, the whole cleaning business being a lot of automated, right? I plugged in a VA and I've been a lot more hands off, and I'm still figuring out that transition. I don't know what to do with my time. You know, there's only so much you can do. Whereas like with the product based business, you know, I could always look for more inventory, right? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, you can cold call. That's gonna get old quick.
Yes.
You know, so I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm really not. It's weird. That's the best way to describe it. It's weird to feel that way. I'm of course grateful for it, and I put in the work. I feel like I deserve it. You know, so it's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny hearing you say that, and then DeMar hearing you yesterday when we were doing lunch, and you were like, "Oh, guys, give me a second. I got to pull up my laptop here." You're like, I don't. Some of us have to run our own businesses still, right? And you were kind of, you know, making a comment about that, and being someone that is still running the vast majority of my business as well. You know, even though it's older and it's larger, what has the running the day to day been like for you, especially as somebody, you know, you are more than a decade older than David. You've been in the corporate world. You've done things that David has never done. Like he experienced things totally different than him. He really, David, bless your heart, man. You got out of a lot of experiences that a lot of people are very jealous that you never had to have, and hopefully never will have. Even myself included, like organic chemistry and like stuff like that. But yeah, talk to me about your experience running this business, and now, you know, thinking about maybe getting some VAs plugged in, thinking about getting to that level. What has it been like while balancing a career, other things in your life, you know, just having, quite frankly, a lot more going on than David does?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been, I would say it's two coins. It's been surreal in the fact that yeah, I could stay from home and have a computer, be behind a computer and my phone and be making money. While before, would have to jump on a train or drive to work each morning to have a penny. So, in that sense, it's been really great, enjoying every minute of it. But I can't say it hasn't been tough doing it all alone, right? While still maintaining a job. But yeah, it's been a great learning experience. I think being in there though allowed me to really be able to see the challenges and the opportunities and see how much I could 10x this business, with just me doing it now and adding more resources. Just adding VAs, I could see us really making more calls, answering more calls. Right now I'm here, or marketing is paused right now, just to make sure that we're not, running marketing running our expenses up on marketing while there's no one to answer the calls. So, adding VA, that's going to help us to answer a whole lot more calls, going to help us to really increase our bookings. And this is really going to take away a lot of the admin and mundane tasks that I do, so I could really focus on growing the business and just making sure that the businesses and the clients are satisfied at the end of the day, because we do have a pretty good clientele that they love the personal experience. They love the fact that they can take up the phone and call and get me and so forth. So still want to maintain some of that to some extent and personalize in the experience. I think that's really worked well for us. But definitely, the resource is going to help us to do more follow-ups. Make sure at the end of the day when they do get it clean, we check in. How did everything go and so forth. So I think that's going to help us to really expand the experience, even with me not necessarily being the person who is going to be doing it once we add a VA. So so that I would say that piece in terms of just having the time to manage everything, it's been challenging, but also it's been really a good opportunity for me to learn and see where we could take this business. No, I'm on that track and just figuring out the next step to getting a VA.
So as someone now how long have you had like a corporate job or like just been working a normal job?
Yeah, I've worked a normal job all my life from the day of leaving high school. I think I did 1 year in college where I wasn't working. And then after that, I started to work in the summer, and I think I've never stopped since then.
Yeah, I mean, since you're 19 years old, since you were,
Yeah, so since I've been 19, so I've been working in corporate for going on, 12 years now, I would say. Yeah, going on 12 years now in different roles and so forth. So the freedom, having the time, knowing that I could be here while I could be asleep, while, bookings are coming in, money's being made. So I would say, and especially I tell the younger ones, like, or anyone looking to start right now, whatever age you are, this is a perfect time to get into a business like this. I mean, it gives you the freedom. It gives you the chance to really build something of your own. Allows you to have the time, to work on things that are really important. And once you get the business up and running properly, you can start taking away and buying back some of your time by getting some help. So instead of just thinking and going corporate and running that wheel, every day, I think it's a good opportunity for younger people to jump in.
absolutely. I mean, I could not agree more on the front of giving yourself an opportunity to try this. And I'm curious, as you said, now after working a dozen years, let's say I'm in a more traditional roles and not being out of that yet, but was the itch for entrepreneurship always there for you? Or did that come later? Or was it almost like birthed out of circumstance? Like you saw a video about something, or you had a friend that became an entrepreneur and you're like, damn, I kind of want to give that a try. Like, what was that like?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, I think this has always been something within me from a younger age. I remember from the days of being in primary school. I'm from the island, so we call it primary school, which is around the age of around 7, 8. I used to bring Game Boys to school and sell games to kids. They'll play for a couple of minutes and I'll collect some money and sell a service then. So, from that age, I've been entrepreneurial. I tried different things throughout the time while still working, more like side gig, side hustle. But this one is probably the furthest I've dived in to really set up a full functional business that, can really take me out of the corporate world. I see that as a possibility in the near future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it actually gives me a good opportunity to ask you kind of a question for the whole group. So, Cam, we'll start with you. Um, I'm curious, do we all have an end game in mind for this business? Is the goal, and I'll kind of give you a few different options to choose from to give you some clarity here. Like for me, this business was build to exit from day one, build to sell. Didn't have a particular timeline, but it was build something, grow it, exit it, roll that capital into something else. And it's a part of the reason why I picked this business model, because I knew that I could actually build enterprise and exit. Now, some people may be thinking that they're building this and they're going to keep it forever, right? And they're going to grow it really big and they're going to maybe even pass it down to their kids someday. And that's why their focus is on automation. Their focus is on building things to a T perfectly so that they're built to last. You know, all these, it's just a different approach, different mindset, different everything. So I'm curious to hear, you know, was this from day one just trying to be a really high paying job? Like, I want to just build a business that can make me 50K a month and I'll just run it forever. And it's just, I just get rich by running it. Was it build to sell? Was it build and then make a bunch of more locations, build for cash flow? You know, tell me kind of what the original vision was and then if it shifted since starting.
Yeah, so for me, I'm starting now my 7th week live, so I'm new, and actually, I didn't actually have a vision for what I wanted to do with this, because I just wanted to try something new. This is my second successful business that I'm running, and the first one, it kind of had a cap on what I could do because it all really just relied on me running it. And with this, you know, like we've been saying, you know, building up that automation, that's something that I'm very excited about. And most of our conversations recently have been about you selling your business and what's that looking like. I think I'm kind of going more on the Steve route as far as building that really solid foundation and just growing it to something that I could be running for, you know, I'm 24. I got some time to run it, like David. Run it for a while and then maybe pass it down to the kids later on in life.
I love that. David, what are you thinking?
So let's start off with what I thought when I first started the business, because I'm going back. I got some more time than a lot of you guys in this business, right? For me, all of my businesses has always been an entry into get some money to then put into something else. It's always been that, right? And no different with this business. I wanted to get money to put into other things because I'm always ready for the next one. And I always want to explore all these different opportunities.
Yeah, kind of like buy your way up the ladder.
Exactly.
Like a trade up challenge.
Exactly. Yeah, like the paperclip to a house.
Yeah.
Same concept, right? So
This is like the sports car level right here. Like you can still get a little higher.
yeah, I could definitely get a little higher for sure. But recently, I think that my focus has slightly shifted. I think all of you know, I'm merging my business with my uncle. So for us, you know, he's 49, call him 50. He's going to retire in 10-ish years, sometimes less than that. So for us, we have ambitions to be the largest cleaning company in the state of New York. Right? We want to expand. We want to take over the whole state. As far as a number, we don't know what that looks like, right? I think a cool number to be at, 100,000 a month in sales. I think that's awesome. And I think that's extremely doable, no doubt.
Totally.
But then, you know, once he's at that retirement age, I'd be happy to exit the business with him, right? I'll get a nice chunk of change. He'll get his retirement, or at least part of it. And from there, who knows? But right now, that's kind of the vision and the path we're on.
I love that. Okay. Steve?
I think it's been a little bit alluded to already where my mind's at. Where I started is a unique position that I had capital to sit on, that I was able to leave a high-paying job to go and then pursue this full-time. And so I looked at it as an opportunity to make money, and then I did fall in love with it because of what we were just talking about earlier, is making the change in people's lives and benefiting others. So I would say at the end of the day that I don't know yet, but that I would be very much leaning towards wanting to hold on to it from a cash flow perspective, or an income stream for at least half a decade is kind of where my mind's at. From there on, I have no idea.
And that's completely understandable. I mean, I think all of us are young enough to not know much beyond 5 years, 10 years. It's just, life is too uncertain. So respect that. Absolutely. Damar, what are you thinking? And what were you thinking at the beginning? Has it changed?
Yeah, my thoughts have definitely changed. I would say when I started, because oftentimes I said I've dabbled into a few different things, but I've always kept my corporate jobs. So it's always more of a supplemental income, additional money, or I've always looked to invest in other things. But similar to you guys, as you got in, and for me, I see it as you know, this is an area that there's a lot of opportunity for automation, for innovation, and with someone like me, for with the eyes for tech and innovation and so forth, I see where, especially within an area that I'm currently in, that there's somewhat of a big opportunity to really build out a business model that will be successful and really very competitive in comparison to the cleaners who are there now. Like there's a lot of cleaners in the area that I am, but a lot of them not using any technology. They're not, they've been doing this for years. And they haven't evolved. They haven't changed. Everything else, every other industry has changed. So with that said, I see this as a solid business that I could grow to potentially a $50,000 a month business. Expanding into different areas and so forth. I've already looked at expanding into a second location, possible at the end of this year. So I'm looking to really see how I could bring more innovation to it, more automation, to really, grow it and potentially have it running as a good business. I have a partner who is within the business as well, who is looking to fully work full time for the business. So even if I'm not fully within it, I see it still running and continuing for a while.
Okay, wonderful. So, a unique perspective that I have gotten to share has also been having this be a part of a larger portfolio of income streams. And I wish that for everyone, for any of my viewers here watching. Unfortunately, no matter how you feel about the state of the world, how you feel about the direction everything is heading in, I can say with a pretty high degree of confidence, unless you are a top 0.1% earner, you are going to need more than one income stream at some point. Unless you want to work until you die, which I don't think most people do. So I have always gone into business with the idea that every business will be a part of my life, a part of my income, a part of how I spend my time, a part of who I am as a person. And I have loved this business model because of the way that it has given me the opportunity to decide what its role in my life looks like. Granted, like we all know, there are busy days and weeks where it's like you can't get a moment away from your computer screen. I mean, there are some days, not all from this one business, but where I'm on the phone for, I swear, 14 hours. I'm from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I am on the phone with somebody the entire day. And those days, yes, extremely difficult, extremely taxing. Definitely don't want to downplay that. But the days when it's 12 o'clock and the weather's beautiful and I just decide I'm going to go golfing instead of staying at the desk. That is a lifestyle thing that being an entrepreneur has afforded me. And the fact that I can run my business in a way where if we have a slight down month, I have other businesses that can pick up the earning, that can, still offset and still be able to cover my costs of living and help me hit my spending and investing goals, or saving and investing goals, things like that. For all of you, I know, David, you own multiple businesses. Cam, this is your second business. Your first one is very seasonal, but you're still self-employed, left a corporate job to be self-employed. Or you are kind of somewhere in a transitional period, hopefully in the near future. We'll have to see what that looks like for you, whether it's sooner or later, whether it's this particular business replacing your job or a second business being added and then the two combined can replace a job. What has the lifestyle or the idea of that lifestyle, what has been alluring about that? Because being an entrepreneur it's not, all the glitters is gold, right? That's not how it is. It's not always having everything of golfing in the middle of the day and relaxing and traveling when you want and time and location freedom and all the beautiful buzzwords that we love to throw out there, right? Yes, it's a part of it, but it's also working on Saturday nights. It's also up early, up late. It's dealing with other people's problems. It's having to fall on the sword for other people's mistakes. It's getting yelled at by people that you don't have any. They're not upset with you. They're upset with somebody else, but they're taking it out on you. It has entrepreneurship has parts that a lot of people that I know, they're like, yeah, man, that's awesome. You make good money, but the lifestyle, it's hard. It's really hard. It is. It's not for everyone.
It's really not, because every single one of us that's here has built something to the point where we could be here this weekend. And that's the beautiful thing, is that some of us have to pull out their laptop, and that's okay. But in a year from now, I don't think that you're going to be in that position, because, and I know it's going to be a lot sooner, but I think for all of us, we're all going to be in a much different spot, sooner than later. And every single one of us has worked hard. We've done the 14-hour days. We've done the long hours so that we can have the freedom to come in and enjoy times like this. But we would be lying if we said that it was for everyone, because you have to have the drive. You have to have the motivation. And when you're holding yourself accountable, that means there's nobody else there to do that for you.
Absolutely. I think that is something that I know that you've experienced as well. I mean, your other business, you told me it's very seasonal. There are days where it's like, shit, I got to work 24 hours in a day because the opportunity is here and I get 3-4 months to make really good money and I've got to do what needs to be done. But then you're like, okay, the other 8-9 months of the year, I get to not ride the coattails, but I get to take a little bit of that pressure off. Has that been, you prefer it that way versus, clock in at 9, clock out at 5, leave work at work, you're done in the evenings, you have your weekends off, that lifestyle? To many people, that almost sounds better. What has been your experience with that?
So I've actually never had a real job. I've had jobs, but they've always been really obscure. And so my only experience as far as like a job would be school. And it's like waking up, you're here for this set time, after 3 p.m., you're done. And I've just always been in this headspace of like, I gotta do my own thing. And there has been 24-hour days of just constant work. You have to really want it. I'm somebody that holds myself to a very high standard, so I need to make sure these things get done. And if sleep needs to be sacrificed sometimes, it's gonna happen. But I've seen the rewards from doing that. And even I'm very new to this business model. I was at the beach the other weekend with my girlfriend while 3 cleans were going on. I was texting a bit, did a couple phone calls, went swimming for an hour or two, came back and was still be able to manage everything that was happening, but while enjoying my time with my girl. So that's the thing that I've been chasing every single business that I've started and everything that I've been working towards. But it does take those 24-hour work days and waking up and you don't do anything except work until you fall asleep again.
Yeah, it's not a lifestyle for everyone. David, I'm curious to hear from you and DeMar as well. And I've got kind of one more question that'll be a little bit more summative at the end, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and if it differs from these two in any way.
I just think entrepreneurship is all about stress management and sacrifice, right? Not everybody's cut out for that. Everybody here has had very stressful days and has had to sacrifice something, time. Some of us have sacrificed relationships, all things like that. That's part of it. But it allows you the freedom. Once you make those sacrifices, it allows you the freedom to do things like we just mentioned. We're all here in Chicago, just taking a weekend to have a little fun. I know some of us are working a little bit, but most of us have been able to kind of sit back, relax, and collect checks. That's awesome. I know a lot of you know that, I went and I took a 15-day vacation, and that was a record-setting month for me. I worked half the month, and that was a record-setting month. Of course, we've broken that, but that was still a really cool thing that I'm able to do. And if I had a job or I was in college or anything like that, that just would not have been obtainable. So like we've all said, it's not cut out for everybody, but boy, is it worth it.
Yeah, similar. I would say, yeah, definitely. As I mentioned before, it's a lot of challenge and not a lot of persons can handle that stress. There's been days when I've been, going from 3 a.m. going all the way till 10 p.m. Weekends. There's been a lot of sacrifice, but I wouldn't even say sacrifice. I would say there's been a lot of investment, right? That's it. Because, as you mentioned, we're here, we're staying in a nice hotel right on top of the river, looking over, eating at great restaurants. And, I'm sure all of us here, that's all on the business expense, because we're doing a little bit of work while having a little bit of fun, right? So yeah, so the challenge and everything that comes with it, is an upfront investment that could really make you big rewards at the end. That's how I see it.
And Jamar, just because you have the best vantage point out of everyone for this, I hear people all the time. I post content or I say something. Oh, I made X amount of money not working this week, and people say, "Oh, I have PTO. I have PTO." As somebody who has a job, is PTO the same thing as what we're talking about?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Absolutely not. I mean, PTO, yeah, it's cool. You can go and yeah, you probably get a little paycheck coming in, right? But that's set, and I would say you put in the work for it, which is a little bit different, definitely a whole lot different from this business. I'm here, booking is still going on, cleanings are still going on, money is still coming in a check. Sometimes I go to bed and I wake up and I see a couple bookings. I'm like, wow, okay. So you're making money while I sleep. If I don't clock in, I don't make money in the corporate job. You know what I mean? If I don't go to work for a couple of months, I don't get a PTO. So it's completely different.
Yeah. Okay. And we all knew that. That was a little bit more for the viewer here. So, guys, kind of to wrap everything up, and there's a reason why I did this at the end. I want to hear from you guys a little bit about the numbers because everyone is always curious. And I wanted to do it at the end because the reality is, like we have all said here, the income is great. Yes, but ultimately, none of us are just looking for super high paying jobs, right? We want to be business owners. We want to build enterprise value. We want to be able to have a certain lifestyle. We want the business to be complementary to our long-term goals, not just go and make the same amount of money, right? So I have two questions. The first one is just going to be, what was your best month that you ever had? Cam, not a lot of months to choose from for you. But what was the best month that you ever had in total revenue with the business? And then I would have a question, and I'm pretty sure the answer will be the same for everybody, but would you take a job where you could work 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, and make the same amount of money that you made in that best month, and that would be your guaranteed salary? Would you take that over running the business? Because we just said how much harder it is. We just said, the weekends, the late nights, the long hours. Now, you wouldn't get the travel flexibility. You wouldn't get the lifestyle flexibility, but you just worked 8 to 5 and you're guaranteed that you make that best month that you've had. Or we can kind of do an imaginary number for you because you're so early here. But would you take that? Because I know what my answer is. I'm curious to hear from you guys. So
Yeah, so starting off, I'll just kind of lump all of my time. 'Cause like I said, I'm starting my 7th week on Monday. So that looks at, including today's numbers, just at 8K revenue. And 2 weeks out of those 6 weeks, I had ads off because I needed to hire more cleaners. And I still had cleans going through those 2 weeks, which was really amazing. And so that is my best month, I would not spend the same time that I did to get the same money working for somebody else. That's just not who I am. Like, I can't work for somebody. Like, I have to be my own boss because I know I'm going to hold myself to a different standard than everybody else. And I can't owe that to anybody else. I know how hard I work. It's going to be for me. And I would not trade it for this business or any of the other ones that I've done. It's been worth it for sure. And I'm just starting. Like, I'm so hungry, man. Like, all of you guys have helped me so much. It's been so great. And like, we're just getting there.
amen. David?
So my best month in my cleaning business was last month. We did just under $23,000 in revenue. Out of that was about 8,000 profit, which is pretty solid, I think.
And that's true net profit.
That's true net profit.
Yeah,
That's
that's
after
fantastic.
everything, right?
Yep.
So for me, I would never trade that. No, I would never go to a job. I have ambitions to 10x that, or even more. So uncapped earning potential is just the thing that drives us, all of us, I'm sure. So no, you couldn't pay me double what I make to go to work a 9 to 5 job. You couldn't do it.
Couldn't pay you double.
No, could not do it.
So 16K a month, that would put you at just under 200K a year. You're passing on a 200K a year salary to work for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, think about what our businesses are worth.
I am not disagreeing with you in the slightest. Just giving some clarification. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say that my highest month, which was last month, is 26,000. I was $10 away, so I'm gonna stretch that just a little bit. So 26K in the month of August. Would I give all this up to work a stable 40 hours a week? I literally gave that up to do this.
You
So
actually gave that up, actually making even more to come and do this. Yeah.
in the next month or two, I'll be making much more than I ever did, but I took a temporary pay cut. And the saying that I'm going by is short-term pain for long-term gain. So how would you answer that?
Well, I'm going to go for DeMar first, and then I'll come back for myself at the end. Go ahead, DeMar.
Yeah, so I guess my perspective is a little bit different from everyone because I'm the only one working right now
Yes.
still, right? But yeah, I mean, what I would say, I guess to put it this way, because I've always kind of done business on the side and have hustles and other stuff going, right? And I just don't want to, especially, I want to tell people there who potentially still have a job, and I wouldn't suggest to people just to quit and start as what my good friend here did.
Yeah.
It worked out well for him, and I'm glad. But I just want to tell people that with this business, you have a couple hours a day, you could still start and still maintain your job until you get to a point where you feel like you're fully sustainable. You could replace your income, and that's just really the same for me. Like I have a good job. I like my job. I probably would quit if I didn't like it. But so I'm not looking to just go ahead and quit just like that because I started this. But of course, I'm looking to get this to a place and running and we might never know. I may be doing this permanently and move in from that. But it's definitely, you could have more money is never enough, right? So yeah, so I guess that's a perspective. No, that might change a little bit because I'm the only one still working right now. But yeah, I would say yeah, you can't having your time. You can't pay for that, and that's probably the biggest piece of what would motivate me to leave. I like my job. I like what I do. I build software and stuff like that. I like it, but the freedom of being able to buy your time, go on a vacation when you want, be sleeping while making money, those benefits you can never get from working corporate. So but yeah, there could be a balance until you really figure it all out and make that change if that's what you want to do.
I love that. And Steve, to come back and answer your question. Also, DeMar, what was your best month that you've had so far?
Oh yeah. Last one was my best one. We did a little above 14K, and that was our third month in business actually.
Perfect. Awesome. So we've got, all different stages here. My best month was just under 45K. So I think that would put, if we combine the five of us here, we'll take you at 5K for your best month here. So kind of bring our average down a little bit, Cam, unfortunately. But, we're still somewhere in the ballpark. We're over $100,000 between, and that's in 1 month. Now, obviously, it's not profit, but we comfortably say that's $40,000, $35,000 in profit, probably. At least gross profit when you start to break in the nitty gritty of business dinners and stuff like that. I realized, how messy my profit books get sometimes. But in the scope of running the business, and from my perspective, if I could replicate my best month ever, I think that month I made just about $18,500 in profit. So $18,000 a month in profit as a 23-year-old with no college degree who is virtually unemployable. I never finished school. I have no corporate job experience. I was a professional athlete in my only real job, which is not helpful for getting another job. I consider myself in the best way to be unemployable. And that's kind of lit a fire under me to say, I don't plan on ever working for anyone for the rest of my life. And if I ever had to, I have to. Absolutely. If I have kids and mouths to feed and I can't make it happen by my own, I'll go flip burgers at McDonald's. I don't care. If the bills have to be paid, the bills have to be paid. It's not a pride thing. Um, it's a belief thing. I have a very high conviction in myself and in the value of my time and my effort, and I don't think that there's anyone that will ever pay me what I'm worth other than myself. And I think it's a really good kind of culmination of what was shared between everyone here, whether it's the lifestyle and being your own boss, whether it's the future income earning potential, whether it's the long term, the building this value and being able to contribute in a more meaningful way to people's lives, whether it's just making more money, whatever that is, whatever the driving factor is. I think that entrepreneurship, and particularly a model like this one, just gives you leverage in a way that you can't get just being in the corporate world. So whether this is a side hustle and it's something on top of your corporate job, whether this is something that you start while working a corporate job and transition into, whether you're already a full-time entrepreneur adding a new business, there is no wrong person for this business model if you have the understanding that you're going to have to put time into it, that you need to take it seriously because other people's livelihoods are also, intertwined with this. F your responsibilities off, your cleaners aren't going to be able to get what they need to get. They're not going to be able to make enough money to pay their bills, things like that. And then, of course, if you have the mindset and the drive to not just clock in, clock out, do the bare minimum of what needs to be done, and then, hang it up, because very few people are going to be successful in anything with that mindset. So, guys, I really appreciate all four of you guys sharing a lot of insight today. It was great to get perspective from a wide age range, a wide experience range, people who have been in the business for a little, people who have been in the business for a lot. I mean, it's fantastic. I couldn't have probably cherry picked a better group of people to give such a diverse, just thoughts today and experiences. So I thank you guys all for joining me. And I thank the viewers, anyone, if you've stayed all the way until the end. We appreciate your time. Hopefully you got a lot of great value from this. There's going to be some more content coming out from this weekend and what we were able to do together. It was fantastic to meet all of you guys. I know we'll be doing more DSA events in the future. So guys, that is really all I've got. And we will see you guys all in the next video.